her student, Kira from Ripon College, and they're going to talk about one of the things that we're sponsoring, and it's their research on, well, I think you can see, and we're going to deal with Wren Guards today. They're also doing House BRAW, but that'll be a different presentation, I think. Oh, Skyboxes, yes, I guess it is here. If you would like to come up, point out. They have a poster here that you can peruse and look at later on. Thank you for coming.
Hi. So can you hear me okay? All right. Yeah, so I'm here protecting you. Bear with me. All right, so I want to introduce, my name is Mamuna Khan. I'm a professor at Ripon College in the biology department. And BRAW's been always, they got me started in 2006. I owe a lot to them. They gave me my first 25 boxes that I installed and have helped me all over the years. So the Wren Guard Project is 2 years old. I'm going to talk about that. The Skylight Project we just started. So these are the Ripon College students that worked on the project in 2021. Natalie Davies helped design and implement the Wren Guard Project. I submitted my results to the board and they said, why don't we do it one more year to get really good sample sizes? And so this summer, Zach Rowling did version 2 of the project. And Jean Krupa is the one who worked with me in designing and communicating all about it. And so, and I haven't met Jean in person yet, so we've talked on the phone quite a bit, so I'm looking to meet him. And then this summer, we started the Skylight Project, and Kira Stark, who's here, she's prepared a poster that she'll talk about at the breaks, right? So she'll stand by the poster and come ask her about it. Since Zach couldn't come, he's got a soccer game, he's on the soccer team, I'll be presenting his results for him and Natalie's. So I'm going to start with the Wren project because that was that's the oldest one, right? And yeah, many of you have probably experienced having a house wren mess up a bluebird nest, right? Bluebirds nesting, and then you're all happy, you find the eggs, and the next week you go, and they're either gone or they've been pierced. Just bad things have happened, right? So house wren populations, are increasing in Wisconsin. Not really fast, but a little. You can see that there's a trend there, and that provides an opportunity. Well, actually creates a situation in which they're more likely to interfere. So house wrens are just doing what they do. House wrens are aggressive. This is a still from a video that we took during the Wren Guard experiment, and they destroy eggs. They peck them, they remove them, and then they build on top of the nest that they destroyed. And this is widespread among wren species. House wrens do it, marsh wrens do it, cactus wrens do it, so it's a wren thing. And they exhibit it at nearby cavity nests, they exhibit it at cup nests that are nearby too, and lots of different hypotheses have been proposed to explain this. Primarily, they're trying to get rid of the competition, or their competition for either nest spaces or even food availability, but actually none of them have been tested. So we were interested in saying, so there's, if you go to cialia.org, Elizabeth Zimmerman has a website which talks about Wren Guards and suggests that you use them. And so we tested it to see just how effective they are. So this is the experiment that we designed. Basically, we would find a wren. Where is it? Oh, it's not really showing. Here's a wren nest, an active wren nest. I used Facebook. We have a Greenland Nature Club nearby. I used Facebook and sort of said, hey, do you have a wren nest in your yard? Can we come and set this experiment up for 24 hours? And people were really wonderful and said, sure. Right? So what we do is we come to the yard, and then 10 meters away we would set up 2 boxes. These are easily movable. And then we would set up the control. So this is a box that's got a cup nest in it, a salvage bluebird nest actually, with 2 house sparrow eggs inside. And then half a meter away, we set up this one, and this one has a 3D printed plastic Wren Guard. Right? So it looks like this. I've got an example here. Okay. And at first, you may have noticed that my guards have sides on them. We designed it this way. First, so if this little wren is sitting up here, it can't be sitting here and looking and figuring out how to get in, so that's why we put them back to back, okay? We just left it up for 24 hours and set up a video camera just for funsies, and came back after 24 hours and checked to see were the eggs inside pierced or ruined, did they start adding nesting material, all that, okay? So in 2021, Natalie Davies ran 29 trials, and we ran into a little problem. And what the problem is we only had one trial in May. You know, house wrens start to nest a little bit later than the bluebirds, right? Yep. And of course, they interact with the experiment. But as the summer went on, we had fewer, and we set up the experiment, but the wrens ignored it, okay? So June was the happy month where we had the most interaction with the experiment. So what she found in that year was that 93% of the eggs were pierced in unguarded boxes and 56% were pierced in guarded boxes. So it improved the odds by 50%, right? It wasn't perfect, and it was significant statistically when you do those. And we ended up only using 16 of the 29 trials because so many of them in July, the wrens didn't pay attention. So that was experiment one. Well, so we're testing this with wrens. We also need to know if bluebirds are going to adapt to the box. So we identified bluebird boxes that were in the midst of laying or had nestlings 4 to 7 days old. And what we would do is we would affix the guard to the bluebird box, and what are they going to do, right? And so we did 22 bluebird trials that first summer, 15 during egg laying, and 7 with, actually it's 4 to 7 day old young. And during egg laying, about 67% of the birds were able to get around it and lay an egg in it. And then when we did it with the babies, we just stayed for an hour. She watched it for an hour and determined whether or not the birds were able to get around the guard. And 83% of the time when they had young, they did. Because wrens will destroy eggs and young. So because our sample size was only about 16, the board suggested and wanted us to do it again, so that's what we did. So this past year, we ran the experiment a second time, and we had this issue. It turned off. Did I turn it off? Yeah. How do I turn it off? Hello? Hello? I'm not going to take my mask off. I tested positive this morning. I had COVID last week. You don't want me to take my mask off. Okay? You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at day 12. I was hoping I would be negative today. I feel great, but I'm still... Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah, actually better.
Is the green light on?
What green light?
Oh, it must be running out of battery.
Oh, okay, how about if I talk this loud?
God.
Can you hear me?
That shouldn't be happening.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so in the year 2, the only change we made was if it was a box that we used in 2021, we put a brown guard on. I don't know, just to change it up a little bit, in case they recognized it, if we had the same pair come back the second year. So we combined the results, and sure enough, if it's not guarded, they're going to get it, okay? And it's a 53% chance of the guarded boxes were protected. So it's 53% protection with the guard. Okay, so it's not guaranteed. For bluebirds, again, this year he didn't really add any that had eggs, but he did do a couple of trials with babies, and they're totally driven to get into the box if they've got babies, 86%, and we only had a 67% success rate with eggs. So the last thing was, we also had that same season effect, right? It was a late season this year.
Yeah.
And so we had our nests in June and July, and by July and August, They weren't interacting with the experiment at all. Right, so June is the month where you might want to use a WrenGuard. You want to watch it. If they have eggs, you can, what we did is we put it on when they were laying eggs. We came back 24 hours later. If they laid an egg, that means they had succeeded and they were okay with the guard, right? So you could leave it on. If they don't lay an egg, you should take the guard off. There's a chance that they will lay, they'll just keep on laying, or there's a chance that they just said, that's it, I'm not going to do it anymore. That nest may fail, and you would have to clean it out, and they'll probably re-nest. Okay, so you're running that risk when you use a guard, that you're interfering with egg-laying birds. Okay, so that's the Wren project, and the board can decide. We ended up running 30 trials with wrens, and it was highly significant. So the project we started this year was the Skylight project, and basically the reason why we're doing this is for 8 years now, Skylight boxes have been available. I know Gene Burr swears by them, right? He's been using them. But when I looked at, there's been no sort of rigorous study of this Skylight box. There's no real great explanation for why house sparrows dislike Skylight boxes. So we did a preference study this year. 2021, we planned a study. We built, I didn't build them, but we built the 100 pairs of boxes, so 200 boxes were built. You guys got newsletters that recruited you into the project. In 2022, Dave Lucy and we delivered some boxes, and data collection commenced. 37 participants. 32 participants of the membership helped collect data, and we're going to be talking this afternoon about what year 2 should be. Kira Stark, she's the one who's been communicating with the volunteers by email, and she produced this beautiful poster. I'm not going to take her by her. She can present her results in the breaks. Okay. So just wanted to thank the Carol McDaniel Fund for funding the boxes and helping to fund our research and supporting my students. Gene Krupa, Steve Sample, Gene Burr, Patrick Reddy. Stephen Lang is the one who built all the boxes. Thank you so much. And all of you for participating. Hopefully, so do we want to do questions, or you guys want to find me and ask me questions? Questions?
Is there going to be a presentation on the Skylight boxes later?
Well, so I don't know, how would you guys like, would you like her to talk about it right now?
Yeah.
Okay, come on up. Here you go. Sorry.
Okay, so my poster is kind of a little small, so if you want to come up during the breaks and take a better look and talk to me individually, I'm totally fine with that. I would love to speak with all of you guys. So firstly, we know that house sparrows are a problem for our bluebirds. They are invasive, they kill native species, as we had some that were killed this year, and they also will build nests on top of dead bluebirds and continue nesting. And so we were looking for exploring these different management techniques. And so we know that the Skylight boxes are kind of a more passive and non-lethal action in regards of we're trying to just prevent them from nesting in the first place. So our goal was to evaluate the effectiveness of these Skylight boxes, and we kind of hypothesized that none of the species were going to be really happy about the Skylight boxes when presented with the choice between 2 boxes. So this is one of our Skylight boxes. As you can see, it has an opaque roof, and it was matched with a pair. So this one was matched with 53P, so that was our opaque box, and it had no roof on top. It was just normal. And you can kind of see in this photograph, this is the difference between the light. So the opaque boxes did not let in nearly as much light as the Skylight boxes. And so we had them set up so that they were 3 feet apart. And we did the study in 19 counties. We had 83 boxes that we had data collected on. And out of those 83 boxes, we had 79 that had nests laid in one of the 2 boxes. So we found that overall, the opaque boxes were overwhelmingly preferred. So nearly none of the species like to lay in these skylight boxes when presented with a choice between a normal box and a skylight box. And we looked to see if we could find a difference between the preference in the native species and the house sparrows, and we could not find that there was a significant difference. They exhibit a very similar choice between the skylight and the opaque, and that would be that they prefer the more normal type box. Over the course of our nesting season in which we collected data, you can kind of see our line where our opaque boxes is this flat line. It kind of goes up and down and fluctuates, and the skylight has just a little bit of a increase during the peaks of the breeding season, and then it goes back down. A piece of really interesting information that we wanted to note was that out of these skylight boxes, we only had 6 species that tried to and succeeded in laying eggs and having a nest in those skylight boxes. And of those 6 nests, all of them were tree swallows. So that was a bit of interesting data that we want to continue to examine and look at. So our hypothesis was supported that there's a clear preference against the skylight boxes, and the preliminary results suggest that tree swallows may not be as sensitive to these skylight boxes as house sparrows, and that's something that will need some further investigation. And so we want to examine the native species nesting in skylight nest boxes, especially if they don't have a choice between the 2. So now that we know the preference, we want to see if we have only the skylight boxes, how it can help benefit our native species. Thank you.
That's good. Any questions? All right, so she'll stand by the poster during breaks if you have any more questions for her, and I'm around too. Okay? Yep.